When it comes to dropshipping, there's one mistake that most people make that can completely derail their business, and many people never end up recovering from it, and that is
If you're thinking of starting dropshipping now, you might think it's complicated, but it doesn't have to be if you simply just...
And that single, simple thing is what will make or break your business.
And doing that is the only way to build a sustainable business.
Now, one thing that most people miss that is absolutely critical to scaling dropshipping is welcome to the Dropship Unlocked podcast. I'm Lewis Smith, the founder of Dropship Unlocked, and with me is our client success coach, James Eardley. Now, when we're not recording podcast episodes or running our own e-commerce businesses, you'll find us helping aspiring entrepreneurs launch their own high-ticket dropshipping stores. So if you're ready to build your own 6 or even 7-figure online business, then head over to dropshipunlocked.com/start. Now, sit back, relax, and let's unlock your potential with the Dropship Unlocked podcast.
Today, we're diving into real stories and real insights from Lewis and I's journey to generating a combined £7 million worth of revenue through our dropshipping businesses. So, Lewis, you've been through a journey. You'll have learned lots, ups and downs throughout the way. I've done the same. And we really want to pull out shortcuts for people so they don't have to go through all the lessons and the mistakes that we've been through so they can quickly get to that number quicker than we did. So, you've been in the game for a long time now, fair few years. And with £5.8 million of sales under your belt, you've obviously learned a lot. So we'll start at the beginning. Remind us of your story from going from no business experience to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to diving into some business lessons today and hopefully helping you out on your journey to starting a dropshipping enterprise as well. And before we do dive into the specifics, though, we should probably clarify why we're in a position to teach this stuff in the first place. So yeah, like you say, James, not too long ago, I was in a corporate job. I was fresh out of university. I was probably so I wasn't fresh out of university. I went into the corporate job from university. So at that point I was fresh, but then I kind of maybe ended up 8 years down the line and you blink and you miss it. You know, you're sort of suddenly on a career path that you never really questioned. And it was a well-paid career path. It was something that I could see there was a progression, there was trajectory, but I looked down the path and I looked at the people that were further down that path than me, that had been promoted, that had reached, a senior director level roles. And I just thought, is that the path for me? Is that everything that I'm going to amount to in life? And it was difficult for me to kind of navigate away from that because it's the only thing I'd ever really known. But it wasn't until I read the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, that we talk about a lot, that book made me think, well, I could have more control here. I could have more freedom, but it's only me that's going to give that to myself if I stand up and just take it. So I needed to control this. So I decided to start a dropshipping business. I decided to jump into e-commerce. No idea what I was doing. I followed a program in the US, actually, had to adapt it to the UK market and try and make it work here. And initially I made a lot of mistakes using the AliExpress model from China. And we've done other episodes about that in the past. And it was a bit of a treacherous start with some disappointments and some big roller coaster ups and downs, but eventually got it to the point where it was making money and had replaced my income. And over time, I've now generated over £5.8 million in sales from my UK e-commerce businesses. I've even now trademarked this system that I call the Home Turf Advantage model. And it's what I teach step by step through Dropship Unlocked. So in a nutshell, that's my story from when I was in the corporate world to where we are now.
And it's inspiring to hear. You didn't have a business handed down to you, anything like that. And you weren't in an entrepreneurial job necessarily initially straight out of university. So you had to build that for yourself. And it's put you into a position now where you can definitely talk about the lessons that you've learned. And I'm very grateful that you adapted the model from the US into the UK, because my journey into e-commerce really got going when I joined the Dropship Unlocked Masterclass, which is, of course, your program, Lewis. And when I went into that program, that was me committing to really making a go of dropshipping. I was in a similar position. I was in a 9 to 5 job. I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't see the future like really bright. Wasn't really excited about where that career path was taking me. And I had like a fire inside me for wanting to have more freedom and be able to be more proud of myself essentially and feel really successful. So when I was in that mindset of realizing I wanted to do something else, I failed at a few dropshipping ventures. And then I stumbled across the Dropship Unlocked Masterclass. And since then, I was able to build my own high ticket businesses that have generated about £1.3 million for me, just over, in the last 4 years since I started those businesses. So yeah, it's been a journey, lots of ups and downs. Very grateful for the journey and how much I learned through going through it. But certainly we can share some things that we would recommend to others. So let's dive into that then, Lewis. What do you think is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned when building a sustainable dropshipping business?
Well, sustainable is the key word, I think, in that question, isn't it? It's the one that means lasting, because it's very simple to create a business that's maybe a quick bit of easy cash early on, but then is it going to last? Is it going to stand the test of time? And in my experience, customer service and customer experience, as a result of combined the service that you offer to customers, but also like the actual human service, but also the user experience service on your website, is key. So it's not just about making a sale initially, but it's about building a business that lasts and creates happy customers that come back over time. It's only 7 or 8 years on now that I'm starting to really understand this pattern of like customers that bought stuff from us even like 7 years ago are still on our email list and are then coming back and purchasing again. So it's about having a long-term view on that business and not thinking, how much profit can I get from a customer straight away, even if they have a terrible experience, with no eye on the future, because later they'll remember that, and if they're a detractor, if they have a bad experience, they'll tell far more people than if they have a positive experience. So you want to make sure that word of mouth works for you, not against you. The other thing is about delivering quickly and efficiently. So that's what we focus on with the Home Turf Advantage model. We work with domestic suppliers who can offer very fast, often next day delivery, because in this day and age, customers expect speed and good service. So we can give them both of those things with this model and make sure that we have a business that when we go to sleep at night, we can rest assured and sleep well, knowing that we've set up a solid system that customers are going to be happy about. They're not going to be complaining about the service. Obviously things may go wrong at some points, but like on the whole, it's a very win-win business in that customers are happy, we're happy, the suppliers are happy. You also build trust over time. So from day one, if you can ensure that your business is trustworthy, that you're showcasing the reviews that you get, that you're being transparent with your delivery policies, you're not trying to hide things away, you have a customer support virtual assistant that people can speak with. If your customers feel secure, then they're going to make that purchase. If they feel secure, they're going to return. If they have a good experience, they're going to return. So the whole thing really, if you zoom out, comes down to customer experience and that being key to the longevity and sustainability, as you put it, of the business.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think it's far too often overlooked. When people get into dropshipping business, it's all about fast sales, Facebook ads, find your products, and it's forgetting about what actually makes a business last into the long term. The reason we've been able to build businesses that have lasted the test of time and have run for years is not the flashy ad campaigns that we put together. It's not going after trending products. It's actually after providing good quality products that give a good experience to your customers. Because it takes a lot of energy and ad spend actually to find new customers over and over again. So in order to build my business that's sustainable, you've got to make sure that you have customers that either come back or they tell friends, they tell others how good their experience was. So that way you haven't got to keep putting in the energy to finding new customers all the time. And over time, lessons we've learned is that ad costs will rise gradually. And so if you're going to be completely reliant on paid ads, and if you're not giving a good experience to customers, word will get around in the opposite way. And that you won't get referred and people won't recommend you, and you'll suffer in the long run. So customer experience is a great point, Lewis. Probably so it feels obvious, but it's something that's often overlooked, especially when you listen to podcasts about dropshipping or watch YouTube videos. Why do you think it's overlooked? Why do you think people are quick to tell you about the Facebook ads and the campaigns and not tell you about the reality of running one of these businesses?
usually because they haven't done it themselves. So they can't talk about the realities because they just have no experience with the realities. You know, if you hear, like, we share everything, don't we? We share the like full behind the scenes, what happens when a supplier hangs up the phone on you and says no, what happens when, you know, an item gets to a customer and it's just broken and has fallen to pieces through being thrown around in the courier's truck. Like the stuff that no one talks about, the unsexy, like non-glamorous side of drop shipping that is real and is the reality. That's the stuff that you're going to get from us, because that's the reality of day-to-day management of one of these businesses. And by the way, when an item does arrive broken, you hope that you've got a UK supplier that's willing to send out a replacement for it, and that it hasn't traveled on a boat from China from a supplier that doesn't speak much English, who's absolutely no chance going to return it back to China and replace it for you. So there's all of these kind of realities of the day-to-day management of one of these businesses that aren't glamorous, that don't look great on a YouTube thumbnail, but that's the reality of the day-to-day life of a business owner with one of these businesses. So we're just making sure that we share that and make sure that you know exactly behind the scenes of how this works, even if it means that we get less clicks on the videos and less views on the podcast and less listens than perhaps someone that's promising you will make millions using Facebook ads and some cheap widgets from China. Because let's face it, if you follow that model, you might make a few sales, but is it going to last, or is it going to fall flat on its face within a few months once you start getting inundated with chargebacks, your merchant accounts get shut down, your Facebook account gets suspended, and the whole thing just falls apart? So we're trying to be real with this, and that, I think that's why people don't share it, because they haven't done it.
Yeah, I mean, I can resonate with following wrong advice, because when I first got into dropshipping, I just quickly went to YouTube, watched the most viewed videos about the products that I should go and sell, and just try to jump on trending product bandwagons. And the reality of it was that I had an inbox full of customers that were either waiting too long for delivery, the product quality wasn't good enough, or they just wanted to return it because it wasn't what they had hoped for, and I was left in a really difficult situation. So I learned from that situation. And then there's big takeaways that I took away from that. And that is that you've got to have custom suppliers that you can rely on. So having UK-based suppliers that deliver your products to UK customers is a no-brainer, because it's much easier to communicate and work out the returns processes and policies. And secondly, selling high-ticket products rather than low-ticket widgets is going to lead to much higher profit per order, and therefore less orders to fulfill in order to reach your target income. And that's been something that we're really strong on this podcast. So tell me, Lewis, from your experience, why is it so important to go into high ticket dropshipping rather than low ticket dropshipping?
It depends on what kind of business you want and what you want your business to do for you. You know, are you looking for a lifestyle business that you want to be able to work from a laptop in Bali and log in for half an hour a day to check on your orders, make sure your VA is running things fine, and then kind of have it fund an amazing free lifestyle? If so, you probably don't want to be selling hundreds of thousands of little mini widgets that make barely pennies of profit and have to spend a lot on ads to acquire those sales and have thousands of different customers asking, where's my order? Can I have a tracking number? What's going on? Why is it delayed on a boat from China? So having it set out in a very straightforward, I make a £2,000 sale, I net £600 in profit, so about 30%. Therefore, I make one sale per day and I make £600 profit per day. Like, for most people, that's more than enough to live on. You don't then need huge overheads. You don't need a massive team. You don't need a huge advertising budget. You can actually, if you sell higher price, higher value items, or high ticket items, as we call them, then you can make far fewer sales. It's just a more efficient process of netting the same, if not far more profit, not chasing after lots of low ticket sales. It's not about the number of sales that you make, it's about what you keep from the sales. It also means that there's less competition. You face less price sensitivity when you're selling to a market that can afford to spend on higher value items. And so, yeah, I think the mistake many people fall into, or the trap, is that they think, oh, I have to sell the cheapest items out there because I'm a new early entrepreneur. I'm early into my journey. Therefore, I'm not worthy of selling higher value items. And because everyone feels like that, there's this inherent sense of like unworthiness and that I have to start with the cheapest stuff, everyone's then competing on the cheapest stuff. And what happens when you sell the cheapest widget? You attract customers that are looking to buy based solely on price. They just want the best deal, and therefore it becomes a really razor thin profit margin race to the bottom. But if you just sell, if I'm buying a living room sofa set for $2,500, if there's one site that's selling it for 2,300 and another site that's selling it for 2,400, that £100 is minor. If the site that I can buy it from that's got it at 2,400 has way better customer service, better reviews, better photos, videos of the products, gives me a buyer's guide, lets me see it in my own living room and through AR, like all kinds of different features, then like that's a very, very small percentage of the overall sale, and probably not going to make much of a difference in where I choose. It's not going to be based on solely price, that decision. So you can benefit from that by being on the merchant side of that situation as well. You also create a better lifetime customer value. Even if your customers don't come back and purchase more from you, even if they just buy one item and then that's it, they never need anything from you again. Well, if that one item is $3,000, how many widgets would that take for you to get the same lifetime value of a customer? If you were selling like £20 or $20 items, you'd need to sell hundreds and hundreds of those to get it to the point, right? So there's a few different reasons there: better profit margins, simplicity, less competition, better customer lifetime value. I think those reasons were probably the main ones for me. But I thought, well, I can just work a lot smarter here rather than harder. I'm going to work hard anyway. I'm going to spend the effort and put the time in. So why not set up a system that I only need to then make one sale a day at the end of it, rather than have to manage a huge, complex e-commerce empire?
It's counterintuitive, isn't it? From what you'd imagine is when you first get into dropshipping, you'd think, well, I'll sell cheap products, and that'll be an easy way to get started. But actually, if you think about it, to sell low ticket items, like you say, Lewis, you're selling potentially hundreds of thousands of items to make up your target income per month, per year. And therefore, you have to have a big operation in place to deal with all those customer queries, all of the order fulfillment. You have to be a serious operator to deliver on that many orders just to get up to your target income. And I have a couple of stories that illustrate this. It really hammered home for me. So back in the day when I was selling my first ever dropshipping site, you always remember your first sale. So I remember my first sale. I was watching, I think I was watching a webinar at the time. I remember this because it was 2020, it was in COVID times. And it was actually my dad was hosting a webinar. So, and I was logging in from home. He was doing it in person somewhere. And I was watching this webinar that he was putting on. And I remember thinking I was so distracted because the Shopify store notification had come on. But when I looked at it, it was for like £25. And I remember the excitement back then of being so excited about £25. And hardly could sleep that night. I was really excited. I made my first amount of money online, but it was the actual profit after ad cost was probably like £5 to £10. Anyway, fast forward to a news story, which was yesterday. And the difference is hammering home how much difference it makes when you have a high ticket order is that, living currently in Bali. And I was walking home from a co-working space I've been working at in the afternoon, walking back to my villa, and I got a message from my virtual assistant on Slack, opened that up, and he was letting me know that we've received an order for £2,600. And it was the first order that we've received with this new finance provider that we've added to the site. So he let me know about it. And I remember just put my phone away. I just took a photo of the rice field I was walking past at the time, took a screenshot of the £2,600 sales notification, and I put it on my Instagram because it was really ringing home for me that was the exact life that I was visualizing in the future, to be able to walk through the rice fields of Bali and have sales notifications coming in, and then it all being handled by a virtual assistant as well. But £2,600 is so much more. I won't even do the maths. It's around 100 times more, I think, than £25. And the difference you get in the return for your time is unbelievable. I'm sure you have loads of stories like that as well, Lewis, looking at the high ticket orders compared to previous low ticket orders.
Yeah, I love that story. It's symbolic, isn't it, of where you were and where you are, and also that feeling of excitement. Like, arguably, you're probably more excited about the £25 sale than you were about yesterday's sale, right? But it meant more, and like you say, it was 100 times more profitable yesterday. But there's nothing that can replace that feeling of that first sale. So it's an amazing feeling. It's just that knowing what we know now, like you said, if we can engineer it so that someone's first sale is that 2,600 one, like what an amazing position to be in. From day one, you're able to do that. Like you're going to be quitting your job way sooner if that's what you want to do. You're going to have replaced your income. And yeah, that's a great and very visual story to hear of your contrast between those two situations. And yeah, you're right. I have many similar scenarios where actually I turned off the sales notifications on Shopify many years ago now, because otherwise you're constantly chasing the dopamine hit of getting a new sale, and you wake up and you check your phone and be like, only 5 orders overnight, not 6. Like you could almost set yourself up for disappointment, I find. So now I try and take a bit more of a zoomed out approach of it, I think, like you as well, and just maybe look at it like once a month or once a week and just see like what's going on, check in with the team. But yeah, like some incredible things. I think for me, the most like emotionally real moments with this now are when perhaps I'm on like a flight or I'm doing something that costs money. So like, yeah, if I'm on a flight with the family, I'm taking them on holiday, and then your phone obviously is off for the flight or on airplane mode, and you land and you connect to Wi-Fi and you see 4 or 5 sales that have happened while you've been gone, and you realize that that's just paid for the whole holiday. That's just paid for all the flights, the accommodation, everything's done. Like that's it. And you almost feel this sense of guilt we've talked about in the previous episode. It's like, should I not have worked for that? Like, are people just paying that? But you did work for it. You did the work initially up front. You front loaded that work, and now you're being paid as a result of that. So it's powerful, and it takes a bit of a psychological shift, doesn't it? But once you're there, it's very much worth it.
Yeah. It's the beauty of high ticket e-commerce is the fact that you front load the work and then you get these little rewards while you're out and about, and you don't have to do anything in that moment to generate that money, where it's so different in lots of other businesses and lots of other jobs that we do day to day. So yeah, it's just nice to learn these and then pass these on through the podcast to other people to take the same footsteps. Now, something we mentioned there is the importance of virtual assistants and having people looking after your store so it runs while you're on a flight or when you can't look after the business, if you're ill or any other reason, if you need to look after people. So it's super important. Would you say this is something that you advise people to take on early on? Or what's your approach to hiring a virtual assistant to somebody that was just getting into dropshipping now?
Yeah, there's not really a right or wrong answer to this. And I think it depends on your situation and your budget and what you're coming into this with. So there are 2 schools of thought with this. There's the first, which is like, okay, say you have an income from a job, but you're time poor. You don't have much time to put into the business. You're not maybe making sales yet. Is it worth hiring a virtual assistant? Well, you could argue that actually, yeah, because if you hire them, say it costs you, I don't know, $600 a month, something like that, to hire somebody in the Philippines to work full-time remotely, which by the way is a good wage compared to what they might get working in a call center or a different job in the Philippines that they had worked in previously and would have had to then commute 2 hours each way to get to work, for example. If you're hiring someone at that stage, you're probably going to have them doing like product uploading and setting up your website and, maybe like just answering customer calls when they come in. I would view it that they will eventually pay for themselves because of the speed to which you'll be able to get up and running faster. Your job as the business owner can just be to sign the suppliers, get them on board, send your VA the product list and say, let's get them uploaded. Like I do the first one, I'll show you how to do it, record a Loom video, and then you take the reins and do the next 50. The other school of thought with this is that you could wait and do things yourself if you have maybe less income at the moment, but more time. Manage the initial customer sales and customer inquiries yourself until eventually it makes sense financially for you to bring in a VA, because the amount that it costs you to hire one would be more than offset by the amount of additional profit you'd make from the sales that virtual assistant generates. So they would more than pay for themselves. It allows you to then focus on what matters most for your business. So like higher level tasks, signing new suppliers, things like that. And then your VA can focus on like customer support, live chat, fulfillment of orders, uploading products, things like that, rewriting product descriptions. So yeah, it depends on what situation you're in at the moment. For me, I think I hired someone, it's difficult to say, maybe like 3 or 4 months in. I can't remember exactly the timeline, but like it was early on, and it was before I'd left my job, because I felt like, hang on a second, I'm in my job 9 to 5. Imagine how many customer calls I'm missing in there. If my VA can answer one of those calls a month and that becomes a sale, which many of them do, they're just calling because they want to make the sale over the phone, then like they've more than paid for themselves. So there's a theory or a logic that's like, or a rule, I guess, that's like, if you can't afford to hire 2 VAs, don't hire one. And that's kind of, that came from Empire Flippers. There's a good podcast. I'm sure we could probably link it below this episode. There's a nice guide on like when to hire your first VA and what to think about when doing that. But yeah, it certainly frees you up once you have hired one, and it changes your life in terms of the freedom it gives you back.
Yeah. Some of the best decision I ever made, I think, was hiring virtual assistants. And I think I waited a bit too late. So I didn't hire my virtual assistant until after I'd left my 9 to 5 job. And I hired when it hurt, because I was really busy fulfilling orders and answering customer queries, and missing some customers in the process. So I would have done it a bit earlier. I think I doubted myself for too long. So advice would be, as soon as you're at that point, you can cover 2 VAs in a month, then I would bring one in, and they'll you'll look back, because they'll really take a lot off your plate. So okay, something else we need to discuss, something else I think is really important to touch on, is the mindset side of things, not just the strategic side of things, that's really helped you to get to where you are today, Lewis. So you've mentioned something to me which really stuck with me when I first got started with the Dropship Unlocked Masterclass, and that was to go all in and to commit and to stop dabbling. Is a word you use frequently. So tell us, and tell me again, what is it you mean by going all in when someone starts their business?
I think from experience, the worst thing you can do if you want to succeed with a new business model is put one foot in the water and almost be looking over your shoulder as to like, should I have done this or not? Should I be doing this or not? Because what you'll find is what you are looking for, right? So if you're looking for reasons why it won't work, those are everywhere. Like, you'll find those scattered all over the internet from people that gave up at the first or second or third hurdle. So you don't have to look far for reasons why it won't work. So from that perspective, my view is, be very selective on what you are looking for when you come into it. Like, what have you tuned your mind into? What are you like subconsciously looking for evidence of? If you're looking for evidence that it worked, that is also out there as well. But it's up to you on what kind of signal you receive. So the way I view it is, don't come into it looking for reasons why it won't work. Treat it like a real business. Don't treat it like a hobby and something that you might dabble at once or twice a week, because what do you think will happen? If you do that, then it's going to pay you like a hobby that you dabble in 1 or 2 hours per week. So focus on treating it as if it's a new full-time job, as if you've just got a new job and you've been put in charge and you are CEO of this new business. The nice thing about it is that it's now your business. You control the decisions. The buck stops with you, which is the beauty of it as well, because no one's going to tell you what to do. You get to do it. But if you do nothing and you hardly log in and take no actions, then don't expect any results from it either. So that's the reason why. It's because I think it's the most empowering thing you can do, is to actually just put yourself in the driver's seat and say, okay, I'm not in a job now where I can rely on loads of other people to do everything for me. I'm actually now the captain of the ship. Let's make it happen. And I think once you kind of embrace that extreme ownership mindset, it's empowering. It's often quite new and liberating for people, because they haven't done it before if they haven't run a company themselves. But when you do fully commit, you're then kind of forced into building better systems, better processes, better structure, and taking it more seriously until it does work. And then you look back and think, wow, it worked. But no one ever gets to that point of thinking, wow, it worked, by kind of thinking about doing it and logging in and maybe doing 20 minutes here and there, and not really committing. Like, that never leads to a proper full-time business that pays or replaces your income. So it kind of, again, depends, what do you want from this? Do you just want to have a little like mosey around and see what's what and have a go? Or do you actually want this to replace your income? In which case, you've got to take it seriously, in my view.
Yeah, completely agree. Everything changed for me when I made it my absolute mission, and I gave myself no other option but to succeed. I think nobody you speak to that's successful with anything would ever turn around and say, yeah, I just tried, and it just paid off. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that in their success stories. It's a case of making sure it works, going all in, doing everything you can, involving yourself, listening to frequent podcasts, getting inside a program, and making sure that you succeed. So for people that have listened, hopefully you've got loads of stories, loads of insights out of today's episode that you can take into your own journey. I know some people like to hear more examples, and so we've got examples of people on the podcast who have achieved the same success or are on the way to achieving the same success as us. And that is a great one we've recorded with Suraj. So episode 99 of the Dropship Unlocked podcast. Suraj has made over 100K now with his high-ticket dropshipping business, and he talks about his journey to get to that point. So before we wrap up, Lewis, for anyone just starting out, what is one key piece of advice that you'd like to leave them with today?
Try and start with a very clear vision of what you want. We've talked a lot about in this episode about it depends on what you want. It depends on what your ideal outcome is from this. Know where you want to go and then build your system and your businesses around that. When you start out, try and just focus on what's essential. Don't get caught up in trying to do everything at once. Just focus on the things that move the needle and try and be patient with it as well, but persistent. Patient doesn't mean just put it off for another day. It means doing a little bit every day. The road can and will be tough at points along the way, but it's worth it if you stay consistent. And if you're just getting started or you need more guidance on how to build a successful dropshipping business, then check out dropshipunlocked.com/start, and it's all laid out there for you.
Are you enjoying the podcast? We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment or a review and we might feature it in an upcoming episode. And for detailed show notes and resources, visit dropshipunlocked.com/podcast.
If you found value in any episode of this podcast, please could you take just 10 seconds to leave us a quick 5-star review on your favorite podcast app? It helps us more than you can imagine. And who knows, you might just hear your comments read out on the show. Thanks for being a part of our community. Your support helps us keep delivering new episodes to you every week.
Now it's the part of the podcast where we're going to answer a question that we've received from a listener. So if you have a question that's come up while you've been listening to today's episode, then all you need to do is comment on the YouTube video version of this episode and we will get it answered on an upcoming episode. So this week, the question has come in from Quadio1, that's their YouTube handle, and they've asked, I'm thinking of testing my first dropshipping campaigns in the UK. Do you think it's a good market for a beginner?
Hey, Quadio, thank you for your question. And yes, I do. The UK is actually a great market for beginners to start dropshipping. And it's one of the largest e-commerce markets in Europe, with the UK e-com market valued at about $100 billion in recent years. And I know that people in the UK are shopping online more than ever, especially when the store looks trustworthy and offers quick and local delivery. Like, those are good trust signals for the UK audience and market demographic. Plus, if you can use my home turf advantage model, you'll also have a better edge because you'll partner with UK suppliers, ensuring fast delivery and a lot fewer customer inquiries or queries along the way, because it's just a simpler model to run with. Of course, if you can also do that, you then get local delivery, which means faster shipping to customers, which then builds trust and happier customers, more referrals, and it just makes it much easier to scale as a beginner. So yes, Quadio, I'd absolutely recommend e-commerce in the UK market.
Awesome. Now on to a recent review that we've had for the podcast that we love to shout out on an episode to show you love. If you show us love with leaving a review or a nice comment beneath a YouTube video, they are all welcome. So a big thank you to Andrew Joel, for sharing your thoughts. And Andrew Joel said, looks great. I look forward to checking out the remaining videos. Good job, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your review, Andrew Joel. We really appreciate it and glad to hear that you've been enjoying the podcast. Before we wrap up today's episode, I'd love to ask a quick favor of you listening to this today. If you've enjoyed today's episode, could you take a quick moment to leave us a review? Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and improve our content. Plus, we might just read your review on our next episode.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast. We hope you are leaving with new insights and inspiration to fuel your entrepreneurial journey.
To kickstart your e-commerce business, head over to dropshipunlocked.com/start. It's the perfect place to start and get access to resources that will help you build your business from the ground up.
And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more episodes packed with strategies, tips, and success stories. Plus, if you enjoyed this episode today, a 5-star review would mean the world to us, and you might even get a shout out on the next episode.
Thank you for choosing to spend your time with us today. We can't wait to bring you more insights on the next episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast.